the former New Jersey governor, who also served as a member of President George W. Bush's cabinet, Christy Todd Whitman, writes in a Los Angeles Times op-ed titled, "Calling my fellow Republicans, Trump is clearly unfit to remain in office." Quote, "I am a lifelong Republican. I have campaigned and won as the member of the party, and I have served more than one Republican president. We must put aside the GOP label, as hard as that may be, and demonstrate the leadership our country needs by calling on the president to step down." Not mincing words, not trying to hide behind nuance. That's a clear statement. And Christine Todd Whitman is out front. I appreciate your time. Look, I know that this took a lot for you to write, but I mean, just so people know, you weren't a Trump supporter. You'd come out and said, look, I voted for Hillary Clinton. But now you're coming out with this step down and you're doing it now. What made you decide to do this now?
Well, the final straw for me was the way he behaved over in Europe for the EU and NATO meetings, when he basically dissed our allies and set them aside and embraced Putin. And when you take the oath of office, you agree and hold up your right hand and swear to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Putin is an enemy. He is not going to be our ally. Talking to him is fine. Nothing against that. But to fawn over him the way the president did, to set aside our allies, to throw everything into uncertainty on the people who are, for the people who are on our side, in order to appear more closely allied with somebody like Vladimir Putin, that's just not good for the country.
So Republican voters, as you know, strongly back President Trump. Paul Begala was just raising this point, right? He was saying, I believe his 88, our latest polling is 82%. No matter how you look at it, it is a stratospheric approval rating among Republicans.
That's the key. There's such a small percentage of the registered voters.
But if you get all the Republicans to vote for him, he can win again.
But if you're only 29%, yes, he can. Oh, I don't doubt that he can. But if you're only 29, and now I've heard 26% of voters identify as Republicans. So if you're talking, yes, if you get that out, it's a serious block. But that's a small percentage of the overall potential electorate.
You're talking about the Trump base.
The Trump base, the Republican base, those who self-identify as Republicans now are between 26 and 29%. 30% as Democrats say they're Democrats, and 40 as independents or unaffiliated. So you've got a huge block, and that 40% is not going to even break 50-50.
So would you leave the party? Would you leave that 26 to 29?
Well, I'm not in that 26 to 29. I'm an Eisenhower Republican, and those are not the ones that they ever poll as identified Republicans.
Would you leave the party, though, as some have done?
No, not right now. I still want to fight for the party. I believe in the Republican Party and what we used to stand for. I don't think that Donald Trump is truly a Republican. I don't think he's truly a conservative, and I don't think he's good for the country.
You know, the thing is, though, if he were to do what you're asking, to step down,
he won't.
Right, okay, fine. But if he were, that then means Mike Pence. New York Times columnist Frank Bruni, who was just here a couple moments ago, said getting rid of Trump would be a mistake. His quote was, quote, "There are problems with impeaching Donald Trump. A big one is the holy terror waiting in the wings. That would be Mike Pence, who mirrors the boss more than you realize. He's also self-infatuated, also a bigot, also a liar, also cruel." All right, that's one person's very strong point of view.
Right.
But let's be clear, Mike Pence has a very strong point of view on things like abortion.
Oh, yes.
The law on gender and gay and lesbian relationships in Indiana. He has a strong point of view, which his boss actually does not seem to have on those issues in the same way.
No.
Would you be willing to take Pence over Trump?
I don't think he will tweet us into a war or a difficult situation. I don't think he would disrespect the Constitution. I am not a fan in the sense that I don't agree with any of those positions that he's taken.
But you would take those positions.
But for the next 2 years, I'd live with those positions.
Wow. And so let me ask you about Hugh Hewitt in the Washington Post said, no matter what you think, the president has surrounded himself with superb cabinet members. His commitment to originalist judges and a sizable military rebuild are two of the most consequential aspects of his tenure. The economy is cooking. His point of view is he's done a good job.
Well, the economy is cooking, the best quarter since 2014. That was only 4 years ago under the much-hated and reviled Obama administration.
Yep.
So we've seen it before. He should take credit because he'd get the blame if he didn't.
Yes.
You know, if he were in there, there's no question about that. As I say, some of the people that have pushed back against me have been very thoughtful, and those are the points that they raise. But that, to me, does not trump, to use a, excuse that, trump what I see as a really dangerous undermining of the norms that are the basis of our democracy. this idea about false news. It scares me when the President of the United States will stand up and say, don't believe anything you see or anything you hear. All news is fake. Only believe me. That should scare people to death. That's not the kind of country we are.